We have had this challenge where the bubbles worked in the way in which we intended it to work to facilitate having ships here in St. Vincent and the Grenadines during the last cruise season. Because I believe without the bubble, we would not have gotten that amount of ships coming or even any ships at all. But we have to live with COVID. We're moving past that period of learning to manage with COVID 19. Hopefully, it then becomes an endemic rather than a pandemic, particularly with the taxi operators and tour operators who are not necessarily working with the tour companies who can receive the full quota in terms of their bookings from cruise passengers when they come ashore.
And
We are currently looking at revisiting our.
that was the Minister of Tourism, Carlos James. Minister James says that he is hopeful through a change in these protocols, fully vaccinated cruise travelers will be able to disembark and tour St. Vincent and the Grenadines freely. The National Emergency Management Organization (NEMO), the Caribbean Disaster Emergency Management Agency (SEDEMA), and the United Nations World Food Programme (WFP) is currently conducting a 4-day emergency response equipment simulation exercise workshop as part of the preparedness program for the predicted above-average 2022 Atlantic hurricane season. NEMO says the workshop focuses on the critical and immediate actions to be taken to ensure efficient and effective emergency logistics coordination and the management of essential relief items in a disaster. National institutions involved in emergency response in the country, including security forces, cadets, and personnel from various government departments, were brought up to date on the role of SEDEMA and its Regional Response Mechanism (RRM), WFP Caribbean, and the National Disaster Management System. On Tuesday, June 14, 2022, participants were engaged in a hands-on physical training on the setup of the Mobile Storage Unit (MSU) donated by the WFP for use in future crises following the explosive eruptions of the La Soufrière volcano and the use of the fire extinguishers. Today, Thursday, June 16th, the participants will engage in a debriefing and evaluation session, which will be followed by the official closing ceremony and distribution of certificates. Still on the local scene, the Ministry of Health, Wellness and the Environment says that it is closely monitoring the situation of hand, foot, and mouth disease (HFMD) as there have been confirmed cases in educational institutions in the country. HMFD is a common viral illness among infants and children under the age of 5 years old, but can also occur in adults. According to the Ministry of Health, the disease is spread from person to person through close personal contact, such as hugging an infected person, or through the air, which, when an infected person coughs or sneezes, contact with feces, such as changing diapers of an infected person, or touching contaminated surfaces like doorknobs, then touching your eyes, nose, or mouth before washing your hands. The ministry is advising persons to take the following precautionary measures. Wash hands frequently with soap and water, especially after changing diapers or using the toilet, before feeding children, preparing or eating food. Cover mouth and nose when coughing and sneezing. Thoroughly clean contaminated surfaces and soiled items first with soap and water, and then with disinfectant. Avoid sending children to daycare and school if they are suffering from HFMD. Follow safe food hygiene and water practices. Avoid close contact such as kissing and hugging infected people. The ministry in their release asks parents and guardians to monitor their children for early detection and symptoms and take those who have persistent fever and blisters on hands and feet to their healthcare provider for treatment. On to news in the region. Barbados is set on reducing the Caribbean's food bill by 25% through regional partnerships. Barbadian Prime Minister Mia Motley reiterated her government's commitment to addressing the food crisis while on island tour with the Managing Director of the International Monetary Fund (IMF), Kristalina Georgieva. During the tour, Prime Minister Motley discussed a range of topics with the IMF chief, including Barbados' ongoing partnership with Guyana. Motley detailed that she and President Muhammad Irfan Ali were both working towards reducing the region's food bill by 20 to 25%, which accounts for a reduction of US $6 billion. She also informed Georgieva about the Barbados Guyana food terminals, which will be established where indigenous Barbadian black belly sheep will be raised and exported. The brother of Antigua and Barbuda's Prime Minister Gaston Brown has been found guilty of raping an underage girl. Addison Brown, 43, was found guilty of raping a 13-year-old girl in the Antigua High Court of Justice after a week-long trial. According to reports on April 2019, Brown tied up the girl, trapping her in his vehicle, and proceeding to rape her in the car that was parked under a tree. The girl told the court that Addison Brown was not a stranger to her, she knew him as a bus driver who worked in the area. Brown refuted the girl's claims, saying he was set up. He said the mother of the alleged victim had asked him for $10,000 the week prior to the alleged incident and insinuated that the rape allegations were made because he refused to pay her. Brown was found guilty and is scheduled to return to court for sentencing on July 15th. On the international scene, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky welcomed three visiting EU leaders at the entrance to the presidential palace in Kiev earlier today. However, Kremlin spokesperson Dmitry Peskov says he hopes the visit to Kiev by the leaders of France, Germany, and Italy will not be focused exclusively on weapons shipments to Ukraine. I would like to hope that the leaders of these three states and the president of Romania will not only focus on supporting Ukraine by further pumping Ukraine with weapons, he says. That would be absolutely useless and will cause further damage to the country, Peskov goes on to state. He suggests that Emmanuel Macron, Olaf Scholz, and Mario Draghi should use their time with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky to take a realistic look at the state of affairs. And finally, in sports, Inter Milan are hoping to secure the return of Belgium striker Romelu Lukaku from Chelsea. Lukaku is so keen to go back to Inter after a difficult season with the Blues that he would take a hefty wage cut. Chelsea still wants a loan fee for the 29-year-old who they signed for £97.5 million from the Serie A side in August 2021. Inter is trying to limit their outgoings as they get their finances under control, and there is no agreement yet on the size of the loan fee. It is thought a deal will eventually be struck given Lukaku's eagerness to get back to Italy. This has been WEFM's Midday News. I have been your presenter, Rajiv Providence. Join us again at 3 p.m. for WEFM's 3 p.m. News. WEFM's Midday News is brought to you with the kind compliments of Court St. Vincent Limited.
Get your game on all month long at Court. Stream your favorite game or movies on a new tablet. Relax on a new recliner with your snack fresh out of your brand new fridge. Keep your heart and health in check with a home gym set and Wi-Fi compatible smart products and much more. Shop today with no cash and get instant credit. Get your game on. Court, bringing value home. Conditions apply.
The flavor nice, it's locally made.